Hello everybody! Today we're going to be going deep into the mechanics of weapon poison. Now, it's a massive topic and I won't be able to cover everything today, so instead we will be talking specifically about players dealing damage to NPCs in a PvM setting. Let's start with the basics. Weapon poison comes in a vial. You apply it to your hands, and then for a certain amount of time, any weapon that you equip becomes poisonous. Now, the more pluses in front of the poison you're applying, the higher the tier of that poison. Now let's start by explaining the differences between the different tiers. Higher tiers of poison last longer before you have to reapply it to your weapon. Plus, each individual hit splat will hit harder, scaling to the damage of your gear that you had equipped when you first applied the poison. So this means I can apply poison with a tier 90 weapon and then attack an enemy with a bronze hatchet, and I can still get tier 90 poison damage. Now this is kind of pointless, but it's mildly interesting. Now let's talk about the consistencies between tiers. The following rules apply to all weapon poison, regardless of tier. All poison has a 12.5% chance per hit splat landed to poison a target. This will then hit your enemy every 10 seconds for 3 minutes before wearing off. However, I'd now like to talk about Cinderbane gloves. These gloves have two separate effects in regard to poison. The first one is very easy to understand. Remember those weapon poison tiers that we mentioned? With Cinderbanes equipped, your poison damage is increased. The numbers don't match exactly, but think of it like moving up a tier. However, this only affects your poison damage, it doesn't extend the timer. This means there is a theoretical 5th tier between 15 and 48% poison damage that can be achieved with Cinderbanes and Weapon Poison +++, since their effects stack. The second passive from Cinderbane gloves is arguably the most powerful. It provides a 1 in 6 or 16.6% chance per hit splat that you deal to re-poison a target, refreshing the 3-minute timer and adding in an extra hit. So let's say that you can land 64 hit splats per minute. This equates to 9 extra poison hits every minute, opposed to your usual 6. Furthermore, these 9 extra hits have a 1 in 6 chance to proc another poison hit, and so on and so forth. Meaning, on average, you should actually be landing over 10 extra hits every minute, on top of your usual 6. This total of 16 extra potent poison hits a minute, in this example, is what makes Cinderbanes so powerful. Now let's talk about Laniakea's spear. As you may be aware, Laniakea's spear has two passives. It'll increase your poison damage by 5% and increase the chance to poison a target by 5%. I wanted to know whether this 5% increase in proc chance would interact with the 16.6% Cinderbane gloves passive. Would this spear make the gloves proc 21.6% of the time? To test this, I started out with 2 dry gems on max hit mode, one with a scythe and one with a spear. No weapon poison, unaugmented gear except for the weapons which both had precise 6 genocidal and equilibrium 4 ruthless 3. I wore Bandos gloves as the damage bonus is identical to Cinderbanes. The damage was almost identical on the 2 gems, and a difference of 16 in this scenario is pretty much negligible. I'm not sure why the gems weren't exactly identical, but hey, this is fine. I then did a bunch of gems again on max hit mode, but with Cinderbanes and Weapon Poison +++, using the same revo bar and always stopping on the same ability. I took away 982,503 damage, the average of the 2 dry gems, so that I could isolate the poison damage. If Lani's spear was proccing the gloves more often, we'd see more poison hit splats and therefore a much larger increase in poison damage than just 5%. After the first 2 gems, this is exactly what I saw. Here's a table and a graph showing the total damage and then the poison damage on all of the gems that I did. On average, the Scythe did 47,971 poison damage, and Lani's Spear did 65,095. This is huge! That's way more than 5%. The reason for this, I am fairly confident, is due to the 5% increase in being able to poison a target. I believe this is interacting with my Cinderbane gloves, increasing the proc chance to repoison a target from 16.6% to 21.6%. This massive increase in Cinderbane procs, combined with a 5% flat increase in damage on each hit, could be why the poison damage across these 10 tests increased by over 35%. I even went as far as counting each poison hit on 3 different gems. The first one was with Cinderbanes, a Scythe, and no weapon poison. I counted 71 poison hits. I then repeated this gem, but used weapon poison, to see if this had any effect. It did not, and I counted 69 poison hits. A difference of 2 is perfectly explainable with RNG. However, when I swapped out the Scythe for Laniakea's Spear, I counted 86 poison hits. Just watching the footage back, I could tell the number was going to be so much higher, as I was seeing chains of poison hits far higher than with the Scythe. The proc chance was definitely being increased. Now, this can't be explained by RNG. To go from 71 to 86 hits is a 21% increase. Now, I don't have the credentials to confirm or dismiss the statement, but I'm sharing what I found with you guys, and I'm doing my best to interpret the data. Perhaps somebody in the comments who knows what they're talking about can help me with the numbers for a future video. I also wanted to answer the question, is this increase in poison damage enough to be better than a tier 92 equivalent weapon? Enter Jesus. Thanks man for lending me this Zaros Godsword. He's like the absolute bank of our clan. Dude's a legend. I perked it out the same as my Spear and Scythe and then got to work. These are the results from 5 more gems that I did with the ZGS. The best gem that I got with the Zaros Godsword was better than my worst Laniakea Spear gem. I also did this on max hit mode to keep things more consistent, but poison is unaffected by the hit mode of a dummy anyway, so you can assume that in reality, the Spear will actually outperform the ZGS a little bit more. Now, I'll be honest, I didn't see much value in doing 8 more challenge gems, and yes, I did kind of prove the point that you will hit harder with Laniakea's Spear than a ZGS in this scenario if you have 100% accuracy. However, despite the Spear being better than a ZGS in this scenario, I still don't think that the Spear is a game changer. The difference in damage is pretty marginal, and if you splash just a couple of hits, you've probably lost all of the damage that you would have made up from those extra poison hits. If you're thinking about using this weapon as your main two-hander at somewhere like Salak, even if you did have 100% accuracy, I don't think you'd notice a ton of difference. Of course, this is just my opinion. Please let me know in the comments whether you've taken one to Solak and what your experience was like. I would love to hear. Now, most people are pretty aware of these, but a quick mention for Qualm incense sticks. They'll increase your poison damage by a flat 10%. They're kind of expensive, but if you want to go for a speed kill, they're an absolute must where they work. Familiar hit splats can't proc poison, as shown here when I let my Ripper Demon auto-attack an unpoisoned dummy. I equipped my Cinders, Spear and applied weapon poison, but with no procs. Also, here's a clip of my cannon poisoning some ghouls. Pretty neat. As for the Eldritch Crossbow special, I'd like to thank my friend Desi, known as the guy who got 700 mil stolen from him by Protox.
Yo!
No, I love you both guys. He is spooned enough to own an ECB, so he sent me this clip. We're both pretty sure that the Eldritch spec is causing the poison to proc, but maybe somebody in the comments can confirm this for us. Anyway guys, this has been a long old journey, and I feel like we've barely scratched the surface of weapon poison in RuneScape 3. If you'd like to see more videos on this topic, please make sure to drop a comment down below. If this video does well, I'm thinking about exploring the mechanics of the Wyvern crossbow, plus explaining the different ways NPCs can poison the player, and then all of the best ways to counter it. Finally, if you've made it this far and you'd like to see more content like this, please remember to subscribe to the channel. I would appreciate it a ton. I've been Seanikinz, so as always, until next time.